So with everything happening in the news and across the world with this whole coronavirus thing, you might be curious as to how does this affect operations for the United States Army? Well, stick around because in this video, that's what we're going to be talking about. What's up, my friends? Welcome to an all-new video. I'm U.S. Army veteran ThatChrisChaos, and if you're not familiar with my channel, well, I like to educate individuals about the United States Army, sometimes news-related stuff, sometimes educational-related stuff, and sometimes just entertainment type of stuff. But this video, we're specifically talking about how this coronavirus epidemic, or whatever you want to kind of categorize it as, is how does it affect the United States Army? Now, before we dive into this subject, if this is the type of content you're looking for and you are not subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also think about clicking on that bell to get notifications as soon as new videos go live, to include the live streams and become a part of that awesome notification platoon. So let's talk about how the coronavirus is already affecting the US Army and how it could possibly affect some future operations. One of the big ways that this whole coronavirus thing is affecting the US Army is in Korea. As of making this video, I believe Korea has like the second largest outbreak that's going on around the world, so that's a very big concern. We have a lot of soldiers in Korea, specifically South Korea, of course. So of course I'm talking about South Korea. We have several different military installations in South Korea where soldiers are stationed at. Also, as of making this video, I'm only aware of actually one soldier and his spouse that have tested positive for the coronavirus. It's not really a widespread thing for US military individuals, but there are several apparently South Korean soldiers that have tested positive for the coronavirus, plus some civilians in the area. So there's a lot of precautions that are being taken over there in South Korea with the United States military. One of the big ones is that soldiers that are expected to either PCS out of Korea or PCS to Korea is basically on hold right now. If you're not familiar with that acronym or that term PCS, it essentially means like if a soldier, was in the United States and they orders to go and be stationed in Korea for, let's say, 1 or 2 years, well, that is on hold. An assignment in Korea is typically either 1 year or 2 year type of assignment, and so after those 1 or 2 years, then they get PCS'd to another duty station, possibly in the United States. That is also on hold. So that affects both soldiers that are supposed to, PCS from Korea to Korea, maybe even soldiers that are possibly going to be getting out of the Army from Korea. These individuals will be on hold. They're looking at maybe sometime in May, possibly, but that could definitely get extended as well. Now, if a soldier was expected to get out of the Army prior to that, I don't know if they're doing the same kind of term as how it was when I was stationed in Korea and the whole Iraq war was kind of kicking off and we had some individuals that are in that situation. For those individuals, they were just kind of stuck there for an extended period of time and they got paid a little bit extra because they were kind of involuntarily extended to be in Korea. So whatever amount of time past what they were supposed to be there, they were kind of receiving a little bit extra in their paycheck. So I don't know if they're doing that same kind of deal with those individuals or what the kind of deal is for individuals that are supposed to get out of the Army or ETS out of the Army from Korea. Additionally, if soldiers are supposed to go to some kind of training, maybe some kind of schools or airborne school, ranger school, anything like that, that is also on hold for individuals that are currently in Korea. The only exception I've seen with that is apparently if the school is more than 6 months, then they are going to go ahead and allow those individuals. They'll have to leave, I guess, a week or two early before the school starts to kind of go into like a quarantine kind of a thing to make sure they don't have the coronavirus coming from Korea before they attend that school though. There's not a whole lot of schools that I know of that are more than 6 months. There are some that are like that as far as like training when you're already in the Army, not talking about like AIT or anything, but there are a few, but there's not a whole lot of those. So that's probably still a pretty rare case of soldiers being in that situation where they're still gonna be going for that school because they have a school that's 6 months or more. Now, also a lot of the installations are taking extra precautions when individuals are trying to get on base as well. They're having questionnaires for individuals that are trying to get access to the post to get on base to find out if they have, any kind of cold or flu-like symptoms, if they've come in contact with anybody that possibly has the coronavirus, probably a lot of other questions in there as well. But also they're being equipped with thermometers to check individuals for any kind of fever. So I don't know if they come up with a fever, if they're turning them back or how they're kind of doing it, but they are at a lot of these installations in Korea actually checking individuals to kind of help keep it a little bit contained as far as who they let in, and if there's people that could potentially have the coronavirus, they want to try to, I guess, keep them from coming on base. Now, Korea is not the only one that's doing similar things like this. Actually, Italy is like that too. They have a lot of cases in Italy. We have US Army installations in Italy. Apparently, it's a really great duty station that's actually pretty hard to get, but individuals that are there are in the same kind of situation where they're not going to be able to PCS out, PCS to there, leave for schools, and so they're on pretty much a kind of a lockdown status as well. We also have soldiers in Norway that are trying to do some training. Well, apparently they came in contact with a Norwegian soldier that has been tested positive for the coronavirus, and specifically 23 soldiers out of Grafenwehr, Germany that are in Norway for training have gone into quarantine. Now, as of making this video, none of those 23 soldiers have actually indicated any type of symptoms, but they're taking any kind of precautions they can because they had interaction with this Norwegian soldier that did test positive for the coronavirus. These soldiers that are out of Grafenwehr, Germany are actually out of the 500th Engineer Support Company and the 15th Engineer Battalion. So if you know anybody in any of those units, then you might have a buddy that's right now in quarantine. Over at Joint Lewis McChord, they also had a soldier and a spouse come up positive for the coronavirus. So there's a lot of locations that are slowly starting to report some different cases of individuals testing positive, soldiers even tested positive, but I believe that the numbers are still kind of low as far as actual soldiers, coming up as being a positive result. That's just as of making this video though. I mean, that could easily change in the matter of time. For me, like here in Colorado, I remember it wasn't that long ago, we didn't have any cases in Colorado, and all of a sudden I think we're up to like 13. Some individuals taking some precautionary actions is actually the Army Europe commander is actually already kind of quarantined himself to kind of keep some distance. Apparently there's some possible coronavirus exposure, so to kind of play it safe, he's actually kind of quarantined himself and working remotely. And I'm hearing about other individuals that are kind of doing that as well, just to kind of, alleviate any possibility of, contracting the virus or spreading the virus or whatever the case is. Now, a question I've actually received from a couple of people is they're kind of curious is, how is this gonna affect me going to basic training? And that is a great question. I have not really seen anything just yet as far as any kind of precautions that are being taken, as far as if they're doing any kind of special screening before individuals go to basic training or when they get to basic training, but I can definitely see that being a thing any minute now, probably. I mean, hell, by the time this video goes up, they might have already announced something happening, or really soon they could, because I can definitely see that being a definite factor and something that they want to try to control, of making sure that we don't have any brand new soldiers coming to basic training with coronavirus and infecting an entire basic training battalion or something crazy. Now, typically, your individuals that are, attending basic training are probably hopefully healthy, young soldiers that are going through basic training, and not really the big factor of risk, of individuals that, could suffer from the severe effects of the coronavirus. A lot of the people that really have things to worry about are kind of the same people that have to worry about the flu, right? People who have some kind of weakened immune system, people that are over a certain age or something like that. Usually your soldiers that are like 18, 19, even in your early 30s, may not have to worry about it as much, but still they need to prevent it from spreading to other individuals that may be affected a little bit more severely by the coronavirus. I know like the media, I feel like really kind of blows it out of proportion in some ways, maybe just my opinion, that may not be a true thing, but it feels like that they kind of really blow it out of the water, like, holy crap, we have this massive virus that's going around. And it is serious, but I feel like the media makes it more serious than it really needs to be. So for healthy individuals that are younger or whatever, then sure, it's like getting the cold, getting a flu, and they even have said that, if someone gets the virus, that most people can just simply stay home for a week or whatever, if allowed to, right? But they need to, and can simply just use some over-the-counter medication to eventually get over it like you would the cold or the flu. Obviously, like I said, there are individuals that it will affect more severely, especially people who have weakened immune systems for whatever reason. Elderly individuals, infants, those kind of individuals do have a lot more of severity with the coronavirus though. But overall, I feel like, the media kind of really, makes it seem really scary, maybe scarier than it should be. It's definitely something to be aware of, but maybe not as scary as I feel like the media makes it sound, possibly. Like I said, it is definitely something to be aware of, but doing things like, probably try not to touch your face, which is probably impossible. There's no way I can probably do that. I always touch my beard or my glasses or something like that, but they're saying, try to avoid that, and washing your hands constantly. The place where I currently work at, where I have a lot of soldiers coming through, is definitely probably a big risk. If any of those soldiers were to contract the coronavirus, we're probably all screwed at that facility, because there's a lot of soldiers that go through training at that location that are opening doors and touching items inside the building, and we all come in contact with those items. So it's definitely a heavy precaution that I should probably be washing my hands constantly while I'm at work. So I can only imagine how that could affect like a basic training if this was something that could widespread to a basic training. So I would imagine pretty soon we're probably gonna start seeing some kind of precautions that are going into effect for individuals going to basic training, people at basic training. They already have a little bit of that going on with the Navy currently, as the Navy is actually restricting the public from being able to attend boot camp graduations. I could definitely see that being a precaution that the Army might take at any moment now or any time now, where they might limit civilians and the public from being able to attend basic training, graduations for the Army. So it could just be unlocked down to just simply be an internal graduation, move on to AIT, and to try to avoid from any unnecessary people, coming into a crowded area and possibly spreading the coronavirus. They might just restrict it altogether and be a private graduation or not even have a graduation ceremony at all. So we'll see how the days, weeks, months, or whatever kind of follow from this, and see what kind of additional steps individuals are going to have to take if this starts to heavily affect Army basic training. I don't know if it'll affect it to the severity of stopping individuals from going to basic training. I feel like that would cause a really big problem, but I can definitely see maybe something where soldiers end up in basic training longer than they were supposed to. Maybe end up in a situation where they don't start basic training until after a couple weeks, so that they can be monitored and probably tested and making sure that they don't start basic training with the coronavirus. I don't know. We'll kind of see what kind of precautions start to kind of develop as things kind of move on. My question to you guys is, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think this is going to become a big, huge thing, or you think it's going to be something that's going to eventually start to fizzle out as we get better control over it, or what? I don't know. Do you think the media is blown out of proportion? Do you think they're not blowing it enough into the spotlight, and you think people are treating it not serious enough? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments down below. Now, to continue your viewing experience here on YouTube, I'm gonna leave a link down in the comment section to a video that I did a while back about how a government shutdown can affect soldiers or affect individuals in the United States Army. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you want to kind of see kind of a relative type of topic. But if you enjoyed this video, maybe think about hitting that thumbs up, maybe think about sharing it if you want to. Check out the links down in the description to include the all-new revamped ChristopherChaos.com website. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Christopher Chaos. I'll see you next time. See ya.